All right, everyone, welcome to our podcast. We don't have a name for it yet. I'm Sam Hess. This is Matt Oshie and Andrew Hess.
Hey, Sam.
Okay.
So what's new with you guys? How are you doing?
I'll go ahead and take this one first, Mr. Andrew. I'm doing well. Doing well. Today is the end of my weekend. 2 days off. I went to the gym. Had a urology appointment today with the doctor. That was fun. Things are going well. Andrew.
Yeah, not too much. I finished a season of Madden 08 on the PSP. Haven't been sleeping real well either. I'm regularly working the night shift, but yeah, I feel like I haven't really slept in 24 hours. But other than that, I'm doing fine.
So do you work every day with my friend Matt, who's the pharmacist at that hospital then, since you work the night shift?
I actually switched to a different hospital, so I don't work with Matt anymore. But I liked working with him though. He was really nice.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. Very chill dude,
Yeah.
as it were.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I am currently eating a casserole,
Wow.
so I won't try to make chewing noises into the microphone, but if I do, that's a darn shame. All right. So our topic for the evening is Pokemon. And if you hear sirens, that's me because I live in downtown Allentown. So we're going to go through a few topics within Pokemon, but our main focus is the games, particularly Generation 1, Red and Blue, the originals.
Woo.
So I'm just going to get the ball rolling here with a little bit of a quick background. Pokemon as a genre, or not as a genre, but as a franchise, started in 1996 in Japan, where there were 2 games published by Nintendo, developed by Game Freak. Originally, it was Pokemon. It wasn't Red and Blue there, and it was, I believe it was Red and Green. Yeah, Red and Green. Thank you, fact checker. So my
You're
first
welcome.
question for the group. Thanks, Matt. My first question for the group: when you hear the word Pokemon, what is the first thing that comes to your mind, regardless of our topic for today? When you hear Pokemon, what do you initially think of, Matt?
Pikachu. That's what I think of. Specifically, like cartoon Pikachu from the 90s cartoon.
And what about you, Andrew?
I used to think that a while back, but whenever I hear Pokemon now, I just kind of think of the mystique of it for me now because I don't keep track of Pokemon like I used to. And I just think of how there's just so many Pokemon now that I don't know the names of. I don't know how many types there are, how many games there are. I just feel like it's gotten so out of control and maybe a little overdone. So that's kind of how I think of it now. But I'm kind of glad, like with this podcast, we're talking about the original games mainly because I feel like Pokemon in the 90s was almost something completely different in a way.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So speaking to, what you initially thought of whenever you heard the name of the franchise, what are your earliest memories of actually playing Pokemon, the games? It could be any games, not even just the original Red and Blues, which came here in 1998. So for context, Andrew and I, we were 5. Matt, you would have been how old?
1998? I would
Yeah.
have been 2.
Okay. Well,
A youngling.
a youngling, that's right.
Yes. What about you, Andrew? What were your first thoughts during your childhood with Pokemon? First
So
memory.
I'm surprised I actually remember this. My first memory of playing the game was at a Walmart in Altoona. And this would have been when they had the original gray Game Boys like on display where you could just go up to them and you could play a game on them. And they had Red or Blue on display. And I remember I would have been 5 probably at this time. I remember going up to one and playing it. and I could tell, oh, this is that game everybody likes, but I didn't even remember at that time. I didn't even know what it was called, and I remember moving around the character, and I grasped that pretty quick. But it was just him stuck in the bedroom right when the game starts, and I couldn't figure out how to get out of the bedroom. So I remember saying to myself, "Well,
Oh
this
my
game
god.
sucks."
As a
But
5-year-old, you had such a way with words.
but the other thing I wanted to bring up too was my first exposure to Pokemon wasn't actually the game. It was being at an amusement park in summer of '99,
Oh, I remember this actually.
and we were there, and they have this this kind of carnival game where you throw the dart at the wall of balloons, and then if you hit a balloon and you pop it, you can pick out a prize. And the prizes that they had there were framed pictures, like little framed pictures. And I remember the thing that I won was a picture of Pokemon. And I'm really sad I don't still have it. I mean, that would be such a cool thing to have. But it was a framed picture of like Snorlax and Flareon and Pikachu. And it was kind of like a random assortment. And I remember not knowing what it was, and I think the guy at the counter had to explain it to me, and other people were telling me about it. And I remember thinking, I don't know what that is, but I kind of like it. And then, with we started kindergarten that year, so I remember like on the bus, everyone was trading Pokemon cards, and Pokemon was really just at that time all over the place. Like it was if you bought cereal, there was Pokemon cereal, there was Pokemon Pop Tarts,
Yeah, it
binders,
really was.
trading cards, uh, you know, t-shirts, you name it, and there was a Pokemon version of that. So I remember that time where, everyone was just into Pokemon. It didn't really matter how old you were. Like there wasn't, and we were kind of the right age because we were so young, but it didn't feel like there was any gatekeeping or like, oh, that's for older kids or that's for younger kids. It felt like it was something that was just for everybody.
Mm.
And between the show and trading cards, the games, it was just shoved in your face. It was kind of bizarre. I don't even Since then, I can't think of any other property that's targeted for kids that has had such an impact since Pokemon in the late '90s. So, Matt, what about you? What's your introduction?
Well, quick rebuttal to that. The one thing I can think of right now, which honestly was probably just as prevalent in like media and just like marketing campaigns and just in stores and toy stores in general, is even though it was probably a lot more short lived, was Fortnite. That is everywhere, and it has been. I don't know if it had the same prevalence as Pokemon though, in terms of its media presence, but yeah, that was pretty massive for a while, and to some extent, it still is. Um, but my earliest memories, dang, I have so many. So before I even like played the games, I just remember um like being with my mom as a little kid, and my older sister was at school, and my younger sister hadn't even been born yet. My older sister's 2 years older than me, and my younger sister's 4 years younger than me. Um, so like it was a very short window of time. But I remember just like my mom and I would like go out. I would accompany her. She like did errands and stuff, and sometimes she would stop at this like store type thing. I don't even know what it was exactly, but they would sell these little Pokemon toys, and like little Pokeballs. They're like these little like plastic figurines, and I would just collect them on these outings with my mom, and like I had a ton of them, and I still have them. Actually, they literally might be in my closet, just a few feet away from me. Hold on a second. Hold on, just 1 second. Let's see.
I wasn't
Like,
expecting show and tell.
I feel like I had a couple of those.
We're in luck. Well, they are actually. At least a whole bunch of them. Dang. Yeah, so I've got let me put this silly avatar thing away. Come on, come on. None. Nope, nope, that ain't it. That ain't it. There we go. So yeah, I've got a little Charizard figurine here.
Wow, it's a
Raichu.
Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Got all sorts of them. Yeah. What else have I got here? What else have I got? Oh, this might have been the first one I ever got. Actually, his tail broke off, but it's a little Pikachu.
He tail whipped a little too hard.
Ivysaur, all sorts of them. Yeah. But no, that was probably my first ever memory of Pokemon. It's like I think, I mean, before that, maybe I'd seen the TV show or something. But my mom would go on these outings, and we'd always stop and get me a little Pokemon because they were super cheap. And my mom did not just buy me and my sisters like free toys, so it's kind of like a special privilege. Aside from that, fun anecdote about these things. So, my mom would bring me over to another woman's house so this woman could babysit me sometimes. My mom couldn't watch me. And this other woman had some kids, too, who were like relatively close to my age. And the one boy, he had like a whole bunch of little like Pokemon figurines like this. And he had, I think it's called like a Tangela or like Tangela. Do you guys know that one?
Tangela.
Tangela.
Tangentiala.
Oh, we're going to
Tangela.
talk more about Tangela later. I have
Um,
something in my notes about that.
But yeah, he had like one of these things, but it was a Tangela, whatever the heck it's called. And I had never seen one of those before in stores, and I just thought it was so cool. There was something so satisfying about all the little like knots and strings a part of that guy. And one day I was at his house and I saw it and I was like, oh, I want this. And I just took it and I put it in my pocket. And my mom picked me up and we went home and I was like, Mom, I stole this thing. And she was super mad, I remember. She was just very, very salty. And I stole the Tangela. And that was my very short lived career as a thief. And I never looked back. Yeah, the law came down hard on me. My mother's ire is a fierce, fierce thing. So
You
yeah,
still have it or no?
no, we gave it back to them.
Oh. We didn't tell us. We didn't know.
No, but yeah. So that was pretty neat. Oh, I'm not trying to hog the scene here, but this is a pretty cool memory. I vividly remember this. This was one of like my memories from childhood that just stuck with me. So in third grade at my school, we did this thing where you would sleep over like overnight with like a parent of yours and like the rest of your classmates and like a parent that they brought with them at the Pittsburgh Science Center. And I remember on the drive there, I was playing like on my Game Boy Pokemon Emerald, and I had just like gotten Emerald like recently, and I never like played Pokemon before. It wasn't until like third grade that I literally started playing Pokemon. And I beat the gym leader. I think it was the fourth one, like maybe the rock gym leader or something like that. Like as we were like pulling up to like the science center on this like snowy day where I was super excited. And I never ever forgot about that. Like I just vividly remember that memory. So yeah, Pokemon. It's pretty sweet. I like it a lot.
So if I could back up to Andrew's memory, Andrew, you remembered playing an original Game Boy in a Walmart on a kiosk.
Yeah.
I would venture to bet that they probably didn't have original Game Boys on kiosk after the Game Boy Color. I think it's a pretty fair assumption because they're probably trying to sell colors at that point. So your memory has to precede November 18th, 1998. So you would have been 5 or less years old. Hard to say for sure, but
Well, dang, I still got it up here.
he's always had it. He never lost it. My first memory with Pokemon is being at Christmas Eve party with our grandparents, Andrew, and our cousin Matt got Pokemon on his Game Boy Color, and I was mesmerized by it. Okay, I remember sitting beside him, looking over his shoulder, watching him play Pokemon Red nonstop, and I thought, this is amazing. Like I thought it was awesome.
How old did you say you were?
I don't remember how old I was, but he was playing on a Game Boy Color, so it would have been 98 or later.
That would have been 99. I'm
Would
pretty
have been?
sure. Because that Christmas Eve was pretty special because you and I each got our own Game Boy Color, which was our first like video game anything, and then we both got different games for each of us, and I got Pokemon Pinball for the Game Boy Color.
We had
And it-
Pokemon Pinball before we had Pokemon.
Yes, and I
What
had
the hell?
the Pokemon Pinball had it had a slot for AA battery, or maybe it was a AAA. But whenever you put that in there, it actually had a rumble in the cartridge. So you'd be playing it, and there would be rumble built into your Game Boy Color as you were playing it.
Really?
I do
Wow.
remember that. It
I
wasn't
didn't
good
know
Rumble.
that kind of technology existed for the Game Boy Color.
That was
Jeez.
a great game.
That game was cool. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that Christmas Eve too. And our cousin Matt even used a Game Shark for Pokemon, which I don't know. I feel like that's kind of lazy. Come on, man.
What's a
just-
Game Shark? What is that?
Oh, Matt doesn't know what a Game Shark is. Oh.
Matt, a Game Shark is a device that allows you to access parts of the game you wouldn't already be able to access. It's basically cheating.
The heck?
It was like
Yeah.
ROM hacking before ROM hacking was popular.
Did you just like buy those at like video game stores or something?
Yeah, you could buy them. I remember seeing them at Toys R Us. Like you could get a Game Shark.
Really?
It was sort of like I remember for the N64, it was a cartridge that you'd put in to the cartridge slot, but then you'd put a cartridge into the Game Shark. So it was like an extender for the cartridge slot.
Mm,
So yeah,
dang.
yeah, they're not really a thing anymore, but they stopped being a thing a long time ago.
I remember I had one, but I didn't figure out how to set it up.
Yeah.
Bummer. Would have been cool. Would have been cool as shit. So moving on. Let's talk about our experiences with the anime and the trading card game. Kind of lumping these together because they're both sort of off topic. But Andrew, do you want to roll on this one first?
I'll touch on the anime briefly. I can say honestly, I haven't revisited the show for 20 years at least.
Wow.
Watched it when it came out. I remember new episodes being on TV. And I vividly remember the movie coming out. In regards to the show,
Like the first one?
yeah, the first movie with Mewtwo in it.
When Ash punches Mewtwo.
Yeah, that made a lot of sense. But
that wasn't even the worst part of that movie. Anyway,
that-
go on.
that kind of leads into my thoughts on the show and the movie, which they're connected in my mind. I thought the best part about Pokemon was the games, and the show deviated from what was going on in the games to the point where it didn't make a lot of sense to me. And that definitely happened in the movie too with Mewtwo. There's some interesting world building, but I always thought Pokemon deserved a better, more thought out anime than it got. Like, for instance, when Ash fights Brock in the gym, he just triggers the sprinklers, and that's how he wins his first badge. And then
I
him
do not
punching.
remember that, but that
Yeah,
sounds
I
terrible.
remember that.
Oh yeah, I remember that from the game. Or like whenever Ash fights Mewtwo on that island, and then all the Pokemon clones are fighting each other, and everyone's crying, and it's just bizarre. And Team Rocket is like stuck in a drain pipe. It's not what makes Pokemon good. I think both of those things are serviceable and enjoyable, but yeah, I'm not. Did you?
Wasn't that
So can I
movie,
follow up
like,
with Andrew's comment
almost-
here real
Yeah.
quick?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
Sure.
I just want to point out one thing, Andrew. You're bothered by the main anime deviating so far from the game material.
Mm.
There's a Pokemon anime that is faithful to the game material.
Right, and I have seen that too.
I'm talking
and that
about
is-
Pokemon Origins.
Right. I've seen that too. That's a lot better. That kind of came a lot later than the other stuff. But
that's
yeah, I know what you're saying. It is a lot better. Like if anyone's curious, that's
For
definitely
context, 2013. So been a while.
I'm trying to keep it in the 90s here, but yeah,
Sorry.
but yeah, no,
Also,
I
he gets like Giga Charizard at the end, so that just throws it all out the window. at the
Get
very-
Charizard. Gosh.
yeah, there's a reason I didn't bring it up, Sam.
Sorry, I
Right.
cut you off, Matt. What were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say, wasn't that movie like, didn't it have like almost a religious like cult following? Like, I remember it being huge. It was on Cartoon Network like all the time, and I had only seen bits and pieces. Honestly, what you're saying about clones fighting each other, people crying, and Team Rocket stuck in a drain pipe, that actually does like vaguely ring a bell and like provoke some images in my head. But like, yeah, I mean, despite like your criticisms, which all sound like pretty fair, like, wasn't that movie like really popular? Like, I remember like, I mean, at least seeing like ads and like memorabilia and merch for it, like everywhere. I mean, like we talked about, like Pokemon had a huge presence at that time.
That movie was mega popular. I remember being in a crowded theater, and our poor mother dragged us to it. Not drag. I'm sorry, we dragged her to it. Let's be
I
clear.
was
Yeah.
gonna say,
She
geez,
had
that's
no
a
interest in
wild
it.
role reversal.
But you got a free Pokemon card with your movie tickets. So
Really? Ooh,
Yep.
pretty sweet.
Wait, so this? Oh wow.
Ancient Mew, I think, is what it was.
Okay, so I think the reason the movie did so well was Pokemon was like on this meteoric like upturn. Like if you were looking at a graph, it would, it would just be going straight up. And I think the movie hit at the perfect time. It was November 99 that it came out here. So if you consider that, like, we knew it was tied to the show, like it was a show supplement. So if you liked the show, or you liked the cards, or you liked any other part of Pokemon, it was kind of like a no-brainer, because it was like the last box to be ticked. It was like, you can enjoy this experience. It's just going to the movie theater. It's not a huge monetary investment compared to everything else. It's kind of like, it does stand apart from, like, you could just watch the movie and get it. You don't need to, it's not like you need to know what's going on otherwise. You could just go to the
There's
movie.
no barrier to entry.
Yeah, it was just more accessible for everybody, and Pokemon was just, it's hard to say just how huge Pokemon was back then. It was insane how into Pokemon everybody was.
Yeah, it was everywhere, definitely.
But yeah, there were hooks for the movie too. Like, there was a short, like a Pokemon short movie before the movie, which was kind of weird, where I don't remember exactly what happened, but it was known that in this little short clip, they were going to tease Pokemon for the upcoming generation of Pokemon. So we knew what Gen 2 was based on.
I
The
know what you're
movie.
talking about. That's
And-
right. What
and
was
you
that
got-
called?
And
Ugh.
with your movie tickets, you got a Pokemon card with each movie ticket, which was kind of a rare card, but then it wasn't a rare card because everyone had it. So, but yeah, that's just to give a little more context to that.
That's neat. I definitely did not see that movie in theaters, as far as I can remember. I mean, it would have been 3. I doubt my parents would have taken me to that, but
I think
who the
I
heck knows?
remembered it.
Who knows?
I've definitely seen
Fascinating.
that multiple times. I don't know why I remember that.
So my earliest memory or like association with like the TV show was not much. I just remember we had a VHS tape with like the first season of like the anime, or like at least just like a few episodes or something like that. That we would just like play on repeat in my house. Like I remember there was this one episode where they were in like some like theater, like drama theater or something like that, and they were like ghost Pokemon like wreaking havoc or something while they were like trying to do some kind of performance or something, like Ash and like the gang. That's pretty much all I remember. I don't remember watching a whole lot of that show. I just remember like loving the little Pokemon figurines and loving the game whenever I did end up playing it. But yeah, that's about it. But didn't you ask something else, Sam? You said like first thoughts like the anime and then something else.
Trading card game. Remember the Pokemon cards?
Oh,
at
the
all?
trading card game. Yeah,
I'll
I
be
had a
right
whole
back.
bunch of those. I definitely had a whole bunch of those. I never like played like the actual like game with friends or anything, but I would collect them. I didn't have any good cards though, from what I remember. I might have had an Entei, which is pretty neat, but I think that's probably the nicest one I would have gotten.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
How about you, Sir Sam?
So for the anime, I remember as a kid, up to at least fourth grade. So for many years, it was a Saturday morning tradition that we would watch Kids WB. I don't know if it still
Oh,
exists or
man.
not, but Kids WB had a lot of good. Well, good is that's subjective, but it had a lot of anime on it that we liked. Pokemon was on it. Yu-Gi-Oh was on it, and then they had some other shows on it that were pretty good too. But I distinctly remember avoiding the Disney Channel and going straight to WB Kids as often as I possibly could. So I remember watching the show on there, and I remember thinking it wasn't great, but I liked Pokemon, and it was on, so that was enough to get me hooked on the show. I remember Ash made a lot of dumb decisions. He would release Pokemon as they became the most valuable versions of themselves.
Right.
Like he would not hang on to anything that evolved.
Bye, Charizard.
Oh,
Buy
that-
Pidgeot. Don't need you. No.
What? That just doesn't make any sense. Why?
And leveling up Pikachu didn't make a lot of sense either. Or not leveling up Pikachu didn't make a lot of sense either.
I mean, not evolving Pikachu.
I'm sorry, not evolving Pikachu. You know what I meant. But yeah, and as far as the trading card game goes, I remember it being so mega popular when I was in kindergarten, which is definitely time accurate. That the principal banned the cards because kids were getting upset because they were getting stolen and normal
Killing each
Oh
other.
my gosh.
people were way too into it. So
I wonder how many schools ended up banning Pokemon cards. Probably way too many.
More than
Like-
one.
probably more than one.
Absolutely, definitely.
Speaking of the cards, I have in my possession a sealed pack of Pokemon cards. I don't know if you can see
Oh.
that.
From how long ago?
There, it shows up a little bit.
Oh, whoa. Is that a Zapdos? Look at
My
that guy.
camera's not picking this up at all.
I picked it up for like a second. There it is. There it is. Wow.
Yep. Still.
Why don't you
enclosed.
open them, Andrew?
Open them for the pod?
Turn off your filter. We couldn't see it because your like fuzzy filter in the background kind of blurred it.
Hmm.
He's trying to mask his location, Sam. Respect the man's privacy.
Oh, okay. I undid it. See if it comes up better now.
Unfortunately, I'm just seeing Sam's face. It's not switching.
You
over
gotta
yet.
speak up, Andrew. That way the
Okay, can you see it now? Can
Are
you
you back?
see it now?
Yeah.
Look,
Shh.
it'll be on Zap. Oh, give Zapdos the sunglasses. Come on. So, for anyone wondering, this pack is not actually the first. There it shows up. This is not actually the first run of cards. This was the third revision. So it first started with what was called the base set, which those packs were just kind of like a solid blue.
Those
and
are so cool.
those were like those I think came out in 98 or 99, and then there was the jungle set of Pokemon cards, and then the one that I have is the fossil set, and the fossil stuff that came out in 2000. So this pack of Pokemon cards is 22 years old at least.
Whoa. Are you ever gonna open them?
Funny you should say, because it's happening right now. No, it's not. I'm
I was
not.
gonna
Aw,
say, don't you
come
dare
on.
open those. Oh, God.
Oh, well, by the way, I found one of these little like Pokeballs that the Pokemon would come in.
Oh, very nice.
That's
you
the
go.
slave sphere.
The slave sphere. Get in your cage, Pikachu.
So I wanted to branch off into a new topic. Do either of you have any experience in playing the Japanese versions of the original
Nope.
Pokemon games? Andrew?
No, not really.
So
I know you had one of them.
I do own one of them. I couldn't play it because it's in Japanese and I can't read Japanese. But
Maybe that's why they
something
didn't-
of note for those of you that aren't aware of this, Google, Matt, take a moment and do this. Google
Google.
original 151 Japan versus United States, because the character models for the original 151 in Japan were mostly very different, and honestly, the Japanese ones look like rough drafts.
Okay, Google what? Original Pokemon.
So the original 151 for Japan versus US sprites.
Oh, there's the US ones.
US what? US Sprite?
Sprites. Yep.
What is that?
So the sprites are basically the cutouts of the Pokemon you would see, either the back of them or the front of them, depending on whether you came across them in the wild or you threw them, to fight on your team in the game. But yeah, look them up. To people listening, look them up whenever you get time. The Japanese ones are, some of them are pretty rough. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
But it is fun to compare. Moving on. Do either of you have a favorite gym leader or a favorite in-game moment? The games are RPGs, so there are some pretty momentous occasions.
Do you want to go first on this one, Sam? Just that I got to think for a minute about mine.
I think one cliche that comes to my mind is beating the Elite Four, because it's not only a combination of the most grueling battles in the game, but it's also the end of the game. A lot of RPGs have a significant amount of post-game content, and Pokemon is extremely lacking in post-game content, which can be forgiven because of its target audience, but finding Mewtwo is about it, unless you accomplish that before fighting the Elite Four. But yeah, I guess to round it up for me, the big highlights are beating the Elite Four and finding Mewtwo. Spoiler alert, it's only been, 25 years?
Oof.
You haven't played him by now.
Yeah. I see Ponyta has joined the pod.
Love that.
Extinguished Ponyta.
So favorite moment, and then you said favorite gym leader too. Favorite gym.
Oh yeah, I guess I forgot to mention mine.
Yeah.
I'll let you go ahead. Go first. Go ahead.
I feel like one of the toughest parts about these games is the gyms don't scale very well in difficulty, just based on how highly leveled your party is. And it becomes pretty evident after you fight Misty that it gets a lot easier. Maybe when you fight Sabrina, who's number 6, it gets a little tough then. But I think Misty's the best gym leader, just the most memorable, because Staryu and Starmie are just so hard to fight. And even if you choose Bulbasaur as your starter, or even if you do what I did, which is in Pokemon Blue, you can get Pikachu early on after you already get Charmander or whoever you want. Because Starmie and Staryu are just stat powerhouses, Misty is actually a worthy opponent. So I would say Misty's my favorite gym. What was the first part again of your question?
Memorable moments for you in the games. Like what's your favorite moment in the game?
I would agree with you about beating the Elite Four, but the part of that's probably my favorite is right before you beat it, you fight Gary. Like you think you're done
Gary.
Yeah,
His
you
name
think
hasn't even come up yet.
you think you're done fighting all the Elite Four, but then it turns into the Elite Five because Gary already did it.
Oh, that's a good point. I forgot about that.
And the thing that's kind of cool about that is up until like that point, you're fighting all these all these trainers that have kind of a theme with their party. Like Agatha has ghost type, Bruno has like fighting type, Lorelei has ice/water types, and they're all challenging. But Gary's interesting because his party is pretty varied, so that makes him pretty unique challenge. And and by then your team you're running out of gas at that point because you just fought all of those trainers, and then Gary pops up out of nowhere. I mean, the first couple times you do it, it kind of loses its surprise. But I would imagine if you played that game for the first time a long time, when it came out or whenever, you didn't know that, that'd be pretty powerful
I
moment.
can picture someone throw on their Game Boy. Fuck.
I want to be done.
I'm sure people did. I'm probably one of them, honestly.
I've got one Pokemon that hasn't faded. I gotta fight Gary.
What if you
Yeah.
just used revives the whole way to get to that point?
What if you were a child and didn't realize that?
What if you were a child?
That's really hot. I think it's all telling because, I mean, honestly, my main memory of like Pokemon from my childhood is beating the Elite Four. Like I distinctly remember like exactly where I was and like the context of like my day at that moment. Like I was on like my house's back deck. My sister had her older friend over who was just like hanging out. They were like
Hey,
my
Matt.
sister and a friend were chilling.
I have to cut you off. This concludes part 1 of our multi-part
Oh,
podcast.
how convenient.
Please continue on to part 2, where Matt will pick up with his lovely story.
We're back.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to part 2 of the Pokemon podcast.
yeah.
I
So
believe
we're-
Matt was mid-story when we left off.
I was, yeah. So no, I vividly remember being on like the back deck of my house, however old I was, like third grade-ish. And it was just like a sultry summer day, and like my older sister and a friend were just chilling, doing something else on the deck, and I was just there over and over again playing against the Elite Four. And I just remember like jumping up in joy the moment that I beat them. Like I never forgot that. Like I was ecstatic. I was like, wow, I did it. I'm the best Pokemon trainer in the world. And yeah, it was pretty sweet. It was pretty sweet. So I think it's pretty telling that like all of the memories we mentioned like included like beating the Elite Four. That's just like it's such a nostalgic moment for anyone who truly like cherished that game as a kid. Really, it's just like it's the pinnacle of all the hours that you put in there. And like I don't know about you guys, but I mean I put a lot of hours into it. I didn't like I took my time with those games. Like I remember as a kid like seeing that I had logged 120 hours into it and thinking that was unbelievable. Which I mean 120 hours, that's a decent amount for a game. So yeah, pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. And in terms of gym leaders, I don't think I really have like a favorite gym leader. I mean, I was just playing Fire Red for the first time like recently. I mean, I haven't touched Pokemon since I like was playing Diamond probably in like 2010 or something like that. But yeah, I was playing Fire Red recently, and what you said, Andrew, really resonates. I mean, because Misty, like, she was actually kind of giving me a run for my money with her Staryu and whatever the heck the other one was. Like she was stacked, you know. Those Pokemon are powerhouses. I mean, I'm a fire type Pokemon. I chose Charmander, so, but still, it's definitely going to be a formidable foe for Pokemon of any type. So, yeah, I suppose I'll say she's my favorite. Plus because of her presence in the anime show. Now you know what? Strike that. Brock. Brock is pretty cool. I like Brock. Brock's my favorite. Brock the Rock guy. Yeah. That's that. So can I ask my question, Sam?
You may.
All right. So I want both of you to tell the group if you were a Pokemon based off personality and physique, we'll say, what kind of Pokemon would you be? And then after that, you need to say who the other two members of the group would be. So who we think we are, and then who you guys think we are. So Sam, you can start. Who would you be?
I'm Machamp, and you're both Caterpie.
Mm.
No. Wait, a champ? Wait, which one's that again?
Can someone show this kid a picture of a Machamp?
Champ, like you're just a champion.
Machamp.
Oh, a Machamp. Yeah. Okay. No, I know what that one is now. Yeah, actually.
Goro.
It's the
He's
muscular
Goro.
dude, the buff guy.
He's like the G version of Goro.
Goro. Let me open up my laptop here.
I don't think Matt knows who Goro is either.
I don't.
Ugh.
I do not. Goro.
Well, I'm flattered that you would make me Caterpie. I
Well, you
guess.
shouldn't be.
This is Machamp for people that don't know what Machamp
For a second there, I thought you just drew a picture of Machamp. Like,
I've got like my
He's a
my
very
Wacom
talented
tablet here, and I'm
artist.
drawing as fast
let
as
me
I
get out
can.
my Machamp sketch.
Just had it
For the
ready,
audio
whipped
listeners,
it
I held
up
up
in
my
a minute
phone.
flat.
I don't know how to draw. I don't know. One of you answer this question. I don't know that I have a good answer.
So my answer is I would be, without a doubt, I would be Snorlax because I'm a fat ass.
Oh,
And you guys would be Mr. Mime because you're people.
why do we each have to be like the same one? We're not like a collective Pokemon. Like we're each different Pokemon. That's the point of this.
All right, Matt, answer your own question.
Okay, all right. Let's see. Gosh, I gotta think about this one. I am going to go with. Wow, that's tough.
Isn't it your own question?
I know it is.
Tough.
It's just there's so many to choose from. There's truly so many to
151.
choose from.
Wow.
Man. Okay, let me think.
I'm a
Of all the-
Tangela because I like spaghetti.
I can't even like process that fast. So okay.
Is Tangela just a bowl of pasta with too much pesto?
What the heck is? I don't even know what that means.
Save it for the Tangela pod.
Is that something like gabagool?
No, Gabagool is sliced meat.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah,
Okay,
I've watched The Sopranos.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna say I think I would be a Charmander. Yeah, I think I have different evolutionary forms, but you know, I'm fiery, but at the same time, I'm controlled. You know, it's like I'm I'm a little guy too. I'm cute
Oh,
also.
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, everybody loves good Charmander. They've got charisma.
You can't say Charmander without charm.
So yeah, that's what I go with. And then okay, the two of you. Okay, Sam, no, you're not a Machamp. You're a Geodude. Yeah, you're a budding gym person, and
I'm a
I mean
floating
gym,
orb.
not in the sense of a what?
I'm a floating orb.
Oh, I thought you said an endomorph.
No.
You have an endomorph body type, whatever that means. No, it's like you're like a budding gym person, and I don't mean gym in the sense of the Pokemon gym. I mean like lifting weights, that sort of gym. So it's like you're the first stage of like a fully a deeper like weightlifting super strong Pokemon. And also you just I don't know, something about your face just kind of resembles Geodude to me. And then Andrew, I know that like
'cause I'm
you
bald,
guys are
isn't it?
twins.
Because you're a rock.
I'm a rock.
I'm not gonna say it's not because you're bald. Andrew, you I think would be an Eevee for your feminine charm. Just kidding. That's not true. You would not be
Oh,
that.
I was
Um,
that was going to be so nice, and then you just
That was
ruined
a
it.
compliment, and then you withdrew it.
Okay, go on.
yeah, I do withdraw it.
Eevee are male or female?
That's true. No, Andrew, you're a feisty thing. I think you'd be what's the second form of like that sand shrew thing?
Sand
Sand
slash.
slash.
Sand slash. Yeah, I think you'd be a sand slash. It's like you got unique abilities like sand. You know, you're not fire, water, earth. You set your own path, and also you're like the most evolved form of your type. You know, you're pretty strong. You've really like developed and grown into yourself. And also you just resonate sand. You know, it's like that's just whenever I think Andrew, I think sand. So yeah, I think that'd be you.
Well, I'm flattered to say the least. I mean, wow, I wouldn't have thought about Sandslash for any reason.
I'm so glad we brought up Sandslash. I was pretty sure we weren't going to talk about him this podcast.
I have speaking of specific Pokemon, I have my own kind of subject in Pokemon that I brought up.
Oh, go ahead.
And it's in my notes as the worst Pokemon. So
Ooh.
I feel kind of strongly that these are sort of barnacles on the hull of all that makes the original Pokemon good.
Wow.
These were mistakes, and I will name them for you. The first mistake was Ditto. Now you can tell that any kind of idea in Pokemon is not good if they didn't go back to the well and reiterate on it or bring it back in any form other than the Pokemon itself. Ditto doesn't make sense because by the time you transform into something else, you've already lost the battle because you forfeited an entire turn to waste your time transforming. And from a design perspective, Ditto is a blob. And to be fair, Grimer and Muck are also blobs, but they are more detailed sludge blobs. So next on my list of mistakes is Magneton. You have a perfectly fine Pokemon, and then all they did was add 2 of them. So by that logic, you should be able to create Magneton by having 2 more Magnemites in your party. Makes no sense. The next one is Mr. Mime.
Wait a minute. Doesn't Doug Trio also follow that same logic?
That is fair. I didn't think about that.
So
Yeah,
is
but
Doug
that's-
Trio not on your list?
No, Doug Trio's not on my list. I don't know why.
There has to be another reason then.
Well, okay, we don't know exactly what Doug Trio looks like.
Doug Trio.
I love the fan art of him being jacked as shit.
And here's the
You
other
never seen
argument.
this, Matt? Oh, here we go.
No, I haven't.
Because Diglett and Doug Trio look like just like a little head poking up out of the ground. You can
Right,
go on,
right.
Andrew. I'm sorry. I'm cutting you off.
So anyway, the reason Doug Trio doesn't count too is that the name acknowledges that it's just 3 of them. They've accepted that. So the other one that I was going to talk about is Mr. Mime. I think any Pokemon that is personified too much is disconcerting and a bit odd, considering the fact that these are essentially domesticated slave creatures we make fight each other.
Gosh.
Can you see
Yeah.
that, Matt?
Oh, wait, hold on a second.
For audio listeners, it looks like Diglett is jacked underneath the ground. I'm sorry, Andrew. Go on.
But I'm not done with my rant here. So any Pokemon that's personified too much is disconcerting to me because they're slave creatures that fight each other and are trapped in tiny spheres. So Mr. Mime is just way too close to being a person. There's 2 other
So
on my
it's just disturbing to you because it's basically like, for instance, if Ash had him trapped in a Pokeball, it's like he
Right.
has a human trapped in a Pokeball.
right, and calling him Mr. makes it even worse. It implies that there's a Mrs. and children and a family concept, but the family's divided because they're all enslaved in different Pokeballs.
Got you.
So the next one on my list, and this is the worst one.
I have another question. Following up with your Mr. Mime comment.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry I derail everything you say, but
All right.
doesn't Machoke kind of fall into that same category? He's also
No.
very human looking.
Well,
Machoke.
that's fair. I think you could put Machoke in that category and probably Machop. Machamp kind of falls out of that because he looks too much like Goro.
That's fair.
But
I was
yeah,
gonna say Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee, but they kind of deviate a bit. I think Hitmonlee's torso is kind of egg shaped, and I think Hitmonchan's torso is a little bit triangular.
I would agree with that. So the last one, I was going to put Tangela on my list, but Tangela is too unique. So Tangela is okay.
That's why I stole him as a kid, because he was unique. It's
Tangela
true.
was worth it.
I think you mean Tangela. Please
Yes,
get it.
Tangela.
Tangent.
This last one on my list is, in my opinion, the most egregious of them all, and that is Farfetch'd. And the reason that Farfetch'd is a mistake.
Oh,
is
I thought
because-
you were describing it with the adjective of far-fetched, but the Pokemon's called far-fetched.
Yeah.
The
that's
Pokemon's
name.
name is an adjective.
I don't know that one.
Oh, you got to look it up. Farfetch'd. So Farfetch'd is basically just basic. it's a bird type that even in the context of the game is hard to find and has little appeal. You have to find Farfetch'd in the Safari Zone. Not easy to get there. From a design perspective, probably one of the most boring because
Well-
if you take away the fact that he's holding a leak,
He's holding, yeah, exactly.
You
He's
take the-
holding a leak.
if you take that away from him, he is literally just a bird that you could find outside. So
How else will they differentiate him from Pidgey though?
so the only
Give him a banana or something better than a leak.
I was at the
What the
grocery
heck?
store like a week ago and I saw a leak and I thought, doesn't Farfetch'd hold that? If you're known as the Pokemon holding a vegetable, you're not very interesting.
I concur.
So that is the end of my rant for Pokemon that do not that they don't belong, it's just that they were not the best, the least.
Yeah.
So how-
As an
how do you
aside to
guys-
Farfetch'd, I suspect he's holding a leak because leaks are probably more common in Japanese culture.
Oh, I never thought about that.
I mean, maybe, but like, still, like, is it like I can't imagine that it has like a connotation of like wealth or success or like fighting power or something like that. Like,
You know, who
it's
are
just-
we? Who
it's
are
a
we
food
to
item.
criticize the creative genius of Game Freak, who created a multi-billion-dollar industry?
frame geek.
But I see your points, Andrew. You make good points.
Yeah, no, those are all pretty good points. I think that's a solid list of
Were
throwaway.
you asking
Pokemon.
us too which Pokemon we thought were interesting, or was that just your comment?
Oh no, I was gonna say I think there's a lot of Pokemon that we like and find interesting, or maybe even have a favorite. But I would just put it back to you guys in terms of least favorite, just because I think that's it's a little more interesting to think of like what Pokemon just kind of feel like don't fit in, don't make sense, bottom
Yeah.
of your list. Like which ones come to mind?
I mean, a lot of for me, I mean, this is kind of a practical way of thinking, I guess. It's just a lot of the first initial Pokemon you encounter in like the grasslands that like really it's not worth your time to like train them to a high level or something, and they're just a nuisance whenever you like run into them. Like for instance, stuff like Rattata or whatever, or like Weedle. Sorry, no. Rattata. I don't even know how you pronounce it because like the first Pokemon game I played was Emerald, and there weren't a whole bunch of these guys. Rattata. How do you say that?
I think it's Rattata.
Rotunda.
Rattata. Rotunda. Yeah, Rattata. Like Rattata, like Weedle, Caterpie. Yeah, those ones. I think they're kind of boof.
Caterpie.
Caterpie.
Caterpie, honey bun.
Little Debbie Caterpie.
Good.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really necessarily have an opinion on like the current generation of, or the generation of Pokemon that we're talking about in terms of throwaways.
Gen 1.
Yeah, Gen 1. Maybe like Magnemite. It sounds like that Australian snack thing, like Vegemite or whatever. Which is pretty lame.
Make them what?
Magnemite.
Oh, you can just
Mag-
picture Steve Irwin in the
Magnemite.
wild. Oh, blimey, we got ourselves a wild Magnemite.
That's a really good Australian accent.
Keep your distance, they'll shook you.
Okay, Krabby. Krabby is another boof dude.
Oh, I disagree on Krabby. But go
Oh
on.
wait, execute. That thing was. I mean, that was always a pain, and it was just goofy. Like it was like rotten eggs. That was the Pokemon. Animate rotten eggs that just like killed you with like their noxious fumes that they emitted.
Sludge bombs.
Sludge bomb. That sounds like it should be like a drink at a dive bar or something. Sludge bomb. Yeah, that's about it.
Any
Mr. Mime.
mistakes for you, Sam?
I don't personally view the original 151 as having any mistakes. Not that I think they're perfect, but I think that each Pokemon is unique in a good way. But I think sort of an answer to the question, as far as types go in the original 151, there being no strong bug type is a fundamental flaw. Now, there are many flaws in the original 151, in the original games, but your strongest bug type is, I think, Scyther or Pinsir, and the strongest bug type move is, I want to guess, maybe base power 35 or 40, which is super weak sauce, just terrible. So when you're fighting Sabrina, the super effective move type against her is basically impossible to use. So it makes Sabrina artificially difficult if you don't understand the concept that her psychic types are weak to physical type moves. They don't have a lot of physical defense. So
Right.
that's a bit of a tangent, but yeah, I think my answer is there are no strong bug types, and there should be, or at least a strong bug type move, which is just completely absent in those games.
I feel like that's fair.
So moving right along here, in-game myths. Anybody remember any in-game myths?
The one that I remember is the one about Mew, and this is the only one I ever heard, which was you could catch Mew behind the truck by the SS Anne cruise ship.
An
And
obscure like detail about catching a Pokemon.
well, the weird part about red and blue, and this applies to yellow as well, you can't get everything in the game. You can't. You have to get Mew by some other means. You have to either get it, I guess you either have to get it by glitching or from an event, or by somehow getting it onto a Pokemon Crystal game and then trading it backwards a generation. If you don't do any of those three things, you can't organically find Mew. So that spawned a lot of myths about how to get Mew. And then basically the way to do it is to glitch. Oh, that's Mewtwo.
Right.
The rumor was
missing an arm.
Yeah, that was the only rumor that I can remember. And I remember even back then, people that talked about it knew it as like we talked about it as a joke. Like we knew you couldn't do that because as soon as we heard it, we had tried it, and that wasn't a way to get Mew. What about you, Matt? Any myths?
Unfortunately, it's really been too long since I've thoroughly played a Pokemon game, so I couldn't tell you. I feel like I remember vaguely stuff of like you would walk into this town and you'd meet like an old person in the street who'd be like, "Stop!" and he'd tell you like, "Have you heard the mystery of like this spooky mountain where you can find these rare Pokemon and rare items and stuff?" And I feel like that's just a common trend within Pokemon. I don't know if you guys know any concrete myths associated with old men and mountains and small towns and Pokemon, but yeah, unfortunately, I can't really recall anything. It's been far too long.
Yeah. What about you, Sam?
My answer is the same as yours, Andrew. The myth that
Mew truck.
Yep, truck by the SSN. I remember there being a glitch where it involved I think it was the right side of Cinnabar Island. You would surf up and down it a little bit, and you would come across this Pokemon that was just broken code that was somehow related to the code that was going to be Professor Oak's team being in the game. But I remember that being pretty scary because it would actually corrupt your save files. So I never wanted to try it.
Gosh.
I saw people do it. Yeah, you end up fighting this pile of it's almost like a combination of Morse code.
Was it Missing No? Is that what it was called?
Oh no, binary code and squiggles and digits, like computer software. Yeah, it was really scary.
Like the image it produced was just like different like symbols and stuff.
I'll
Yeah.
show you an image, Matt.
And it had a broken amount of health too. It was
What the heck?
it was kind of like encountering a ghost in the game.
If you look at my screen, whatever focuses.
It's adjusting.
Oh yeah.
What's it?
That's
I
not
can't
how
really
I remember it.
I can't
That's
really
what-
see it very clearly. What's it called?
Missing no.
Yeah, missing no. It doesn't recognize it as a numbered Pokemon in the game.
Ooh, that is spooky. What the heck?
I remember it looking different for some reason.
Next question. Either of you remember a killer team or a killer group of Pokemon that you used either just to get through the game or in a planned fight afterward with one of your friends? Some killer combination you had?
Yeah,
Hmm.
so I'll go first on this one. I played Blue to death, but I played Blue to death over a very long period of time because once every couple of years I would go back to it and just do another run through. And I kind of have it down to a science, at least from my point of view, which is I start out getting Charmander, and then in the first area between Pewter City and what is it, Lavender Town, where Giovanni's gym is.
Giovanni.
Giovanni.
Is that Vermilion?
Maybe, but basically before you get to Brock, you can catch Pikachu, but that is unique to the blue version. You can only do that in blue, not red. So at that point you have Charmander and Pikachu, and then if you go to the Pokemon Center right outside of Mount Moon, you can talk to a fisherman in the corner. And when you talk to him, he says that he caught a Magikarp that he doesn't want anymore, and you can buy it off of him. And I remember it's not cheap. Like you have to save your
Oh,
money
I
to
did
buy
that
it.
recently whenever I was playing Fire Red. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to put your money together to buy Magikarp, but you're not even at Misty yet. And you have a Magikarp, a Charmander, and a Pikachu. And then by the end, you've got Raichu, Charizard, Gyarados. And you're only
That is
on,
a pretty badass combo.
you haven't even made it to the second gym yet. And based on type advantage, you can always win. Based on stat advantage, you have Raichu has speed, Gyarados has power, Charizard has a little bit of everything. So you can beat the whole game with just those three. That's my group.
Wait, which game did you say this was?
Pokemon Blue.
So how do you get Pikachu, by the way?
Um,
You might have mentioned that, but
Catch them in the wild in the like bug forest before you hit Brock.
yeah, I'm trying to think of what that's called.
and what level does
Viridian Forest.
Viridian Forest.
Meridian Forest? What level does Magikarp evolve into a Gyarados?
20.
20. Okay.
And it's painful too because
Yeah, it is. That's like the process that I'm doing right now. I mean, I haven't touched the game in a couple weeks, but yeah, I remember it was just painful cycling that Magikarp out of battles just to get him that XP, and it's just staggeringly slow as it increases.
The developers realized how much of a pain that was, and they added EXP share as a holdable item in the next game. So
Oh, interesting.
it's a pain, but once you get Magikarp to that, that level he evolves, it's worth it though.
I know, that's the thing. It's like it's supposed to be a pain because like once he gets to that level, he's like OP, just
Yeah.
like right out the gate. So it's
Mhm.
supposed to be like long and laborious, I think.
I think he learns a move when he gets to that level too. Maybe it's Bite or Water Gun, I want to say. He learns one of those moves that makes him a lot more viable.
I feel like
You're not
right,
talking
but-
about Splash?
No, we had that one already.
What about you guys?
My answer to
Magikarp
this.
used Splash, but nothing happened.
What?
Thank you. My answer to this question is I remember, Andrew, we got together with some of our high school friends at the time, and we basically had 6v6 battles with level 100 Pokemon. And we built out teams. And I remember I had a Starmie, Arcanine, Dugtrio, Hitmonchan, Alakazam, and Jolteon. Killer team. The only weak spot was truly Hitmonchan. Total mistake. I thought his different elemental punches would give me some good coverage, but he's so weak it didn't even matter. But
Weak in terms of what, like HP or?
I think everything. He has no standout ability.
Hmm.
He's slow. His attacks don't do that much damage.
Hitmonchan. Jackie
But
Chan.
Jolteon was a speedy powerhouse. Starmie's an absolute monster. Fast, high special. Alakazam's the same way. Fast, high special. Dugtrio and Arcanine are great for the opposite reasons. They're both fast, but they have high physical attack.
Which one is Arcanine?
Arcanine
dog.
looks like a dog. Like a red fire dog.
There are a lot of Pokemon that look like dogs.
Yeah.
Let me look
You,
them up.
Matt.
Arcanine.
Matt, did you have an answer to this question? Or
Dream Team.
Oh yeah, Arcanine. No, I mean combos. No, again, it's been so long since I've played, so there's no like really special particular strategy that I'm like running through or that I ran through with my games or anything. I just no, I just tried to find good Pokemon from like people who had played the game before. I'd like ask them like what's like a really good Pokemon that I can use to enhance like my like front line here. And whenever I was playing Emerald, I remember I got this really cool, unique Pokemon. I mean, I know we're stemming into a different generation with this conversation, but like, if you guys will humor me, do you guys remember like the Pokemon like Bagon or Bagon? I think it was. in,
sounds
like, Emerald?
familiar.
Baguette.
Baguette?
I gotta
I
look him
named it
up.
Bagel because its name reminded me of like a bagel.
Oh
It's called like
yeah.
Bagon or something.
It's like the
Yeah.
base evolution of Salamence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
yeah,
got you.
exactly.
He's
Like
really
that
good.
Pokemon. Oh my gosh, Salamence was like OP. And I remember that like, yeah, I would just always try and like seek out like really like special and like mysterious Pokemon. And specifically, I love like dragon type Pokemon. So like things like Charizard, Gyarados, like Salamence, like I just love those guys. I mean that they're unbeatable, really. It's like especially a combo of them.
Is
I mean,
Charizard
like,
technically a dragon type?
how could he not be? He's the most dragon of all Pokemon. I mean, look at this guy. He literally is a dragon.
No, he's fire flying.
Interesting. That's actually very surprising.
Do you know that Gyarados is a flying type?
I did.
Doesn't even know what it
But
says.
yeah, no, stuff like that. I mean, maybe it's kind of like a novice strategy. I just look for the good Pokemon and add them to my front line.
So
Good move.
one more thing I want to throw out here. There is a YouTuber called J Rose, and he does solo runs for the original games where he takes one Pokemon and he beats the entire game in as few battles as possible. And I personally find it endlessly entertaining. And he's approaching the point where he's done them all. And it is impossible to do with Magikarp. However, he makes it all the way to the channelers in that ghost tower. And he is stuck there. Do either of you know why he would be stuck there? Do you have any guesses?
Channelers in the ghost tower.
Is it because no water type Pokemon can like attack them or something like that? The Pokemon that they have or something like that.
So Magikarp can't learn any moves.
So he's doing it.
Oh,
all
you can't like you
Magikarp?
can't teach him with like a TM or whatever.
Nothing. Splash
didn't-
only.
Yeah,
So are you wondering how he got that far?
yeah. That's what I was wondering then. Like, how did he get that far?
When you run out of moves, Splash in particular in this example, you use a move called Struggle. It's a physical move. I don't remember how much base power. It's pretty low, but you do the damage you deal half of that to yourself. He made it all the way to the channelers.
Wait,
With
how do you use that? How do you use that if it's not like one of the regular like moves that you can just pick from?
It is one of the moves you can pick. Well, when you go to hit attack, it says you are out of moves. Pokemon use Struggle.
It's a default thing when you run out of moves. So any Pokemon that runs out of moves will struggle.
Really?
It's just for Magikarp, it's an advantage.
Because it's better
That's
than nothing.
really interesting.
It
Yeah.
is.
Wow. I'm actually going to employ that tactic. That's pretty neat.
Don't, because I think Splash is like a base power point of 35 or something, so you're going to be waiting all day.
Let's just attack a
yeah.
whole bunch of wild Wow.
To shout out one of his other videos, he did a video where he beat the Elite Four with only 6 level 5 Pokemon.
What? Wow.
Yes.
Good for that guy.
Yeah, it's a hell of a video. You should watch it. Because
Probably
he
a lot
goes
of-
through his thought process for every battle. It's so
Probably a lot of
funny.
What
leveling
is-
up going on there.
what is
No,
his
no
name?
leveling up. Stayed
Yeah,
at level 5 the whole
literally
time.
that's his game. No leveling up at all. What's his name again?
J-Rose, JROSE on YouTube. And all of his videos are basically just Pokemon stuff.
That's pretty cool.
Last topic before we wrap up. I want to make a comment about fan-made games, which are really just mods to the base games. Particularly the Pokemon game known as Pokemon Gold 97. So at the Space World 97 Expo, there was a demo of the next Pokemon game, which would eventually become Pokemon Gold, but the demo was scrapped because they decided to redo all of their plans. And only just a year or two ago, the ROM was found, people in the community found a way to make it work and run, and it is a workable game. I played it and beat it myself. It is a lot of fun. It lands somewhere between Pokemon Red, Blue, and Gold. Character looks like the character from Gold. There are some Pokemon from the original 150 in there. And then there are some unique Pokemon that never saw the light of day beyond that game. So if you're ever looking to play a game that has very little documentation about, go for it. It's a lot of fun. And the Elite Four in that game is tough as nails. I struggled to beat it. And I've played these games for too long to understand type advantage. And I was definitely struggling in the last bit of that game, which I thought was so much fun. These games, when you reach a certain point of understanding strengths and weaknesses, become boring and easy. But that game was genuinely challenging. I had no idea what to expect, and it still maintained that same aesthetic from the original games. So a lot of fun for me. I recommend people check it out if they have never heard of that before. It is the Pokemon Gold 97.
So I have played probably 30 minutes of this game because I have my own copy of it, and I gotta say, it's not necessarily for me. I don't think it's for everybody because it's not. It was never meant to come out. It's just an interesting, sort of an interesting project that got made to fruition. In my opinion, from what I played, I just feel like if you have the time and you haven't played the games, do Red and Blue, and then just do Gold and Silver. And I feel like that game you're talking about, Sam, it's good. It's really interesting to see the designs that they didn't go with because a lot of them you can see the designs made it to Silver and Gold, but I just decided it wasn't for me. It's good. It's really great. If you're interested, it's worth trying.
So like, what's up with the designs? Like, I mean, how are they like different from like regular standard designs in the Pokemon games?
Some of them are Pokemon that never saw the light of day. They
Like you said, you were like surprised by them, Andrew. Like, what makes them like unique? Like, aside from the fact that they didn't make the cut for other games.
It's kind of bizarre. It's almost like a fever dream of Red and Blue with some of the designs because those Pokemon are in the same art style as Red and Blue. So they feel weirdly like an extension of those games. It's almost like Red, Blue, or it's like Red and Blue 2 with the designs. Some of the designs, if you look at them, you can see how they translated into, oh, that that Pokemon made it to Gold and Silver. And some of them I think even went beyond that. Like some of the designs look like they are from Ruby and Sapphire and maybe even later games. I'm not totally sure, but it's almost like a fever dream of Pokemon design. Like what could have been almost.
Okay.
Yeah, that part of it's pretty great.
Whoa. So are
So-
these Pokemon from Gold, Sam?
They're from Gold 97, the image I sent you.
Are they all unique to that game?
Not all of
ones?
them, but a lot of them are.
Yeah, I really see what you mean about them being like a fever dream. Huh.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are just straight up gold and silver Pokemon, like Umbreon's in there. Slow King is in there.
2 of the original starters are different in their evolution trees. I think Chikorita is the only original that stayed.
Who's the Pokemon with a long tongue
Probably
that
a
like is
Lickitung.
licking itself? What's it called?
Is it not a Lickitung?
Probably a Lickitung.
Anyway,
Probably.
yeah. Pokemon Gold 97. It's sort of like an extra credit thing. If you love the originals and you like Gold and Silver, this one is definitely worth your time. And that concludes part 2 of our Pokemon podcast. Please join us for part 3. All right. Matt, did you have anything to add to Pokemon Gold 97?
That really hurts my eyes. No, I got nothing. It's all you boys.
Well, I guess to bring it around and wrap up what we've talked about the origins of the games, talked about our memories of the games, the anime, the trading card game, the differences between the Japanese and US versions, some of our favorite Pokemon, favorite game moments, some standout Pokemon, what Pokemon we think we resemble. In-game myths, solo runs. We talked about my tangent on fan-made games.
Yes, we did.
Wait, did we say everyone's favorite Pokemon?
No, we didn't. You
I
go
think
first,
that's an
Matt.
excellent way to round out this topic. So yeah, my favorite Pokemon has to be. I am going to say Charizard because he's a flippin' boss. Like
But
I
not
said,
a dragon.
literally a dragon.
Not a dragon.
Literally a dragon.
Nope.
In every sense of the word except
dragon.
definition. He's just for some reason defined not as a dragon, which I don't understand.
Correct.
But yeah, he is a dragon. And also just for me, it's like whenever I think Pokemon, like just the anime TV show and kind of like the original like Pokemon they came out with, I think Pikachu, like I said initially, whenever I like literally think of the word. And I also just think of like Charmander and Charizard. And Squirtle comes to mind too. Squirtle's up there for me. Is one of my favorite Pokemon. But it's got to be Charizard, like the fully evolved form of Charmander and Charmeleon.
Not
Charizard.
Giga Charizard.
Giga Charizard.
I don't think Matt
Ultra
even knows what
Charizard?
Giga
I
Charizard
no, I
looks
don't
like.
know what that is. It just sounds so over the top and absolutely ridiculous. Giga Charizard. Let me look up a pic of this dude. This bad boy. Giga Char. Giga Charizard. Let's take a look. Oh my. That thing's wild. What?
It's like
My
Charizard
goodness.
went to the gym and got purple.
Oh, it's Mega Charizard. I'm sorry.
No. There's a. Wait. No.
There's also a Giga Charizard
Guy-
because of Sword and Shield fights.
Gigantamax Charizard.
Gigantamax.
That's right.
Found that on bulbapedia.bulbagarden.net. Excuse me, bulbagarden.net.
There's
Fascinating.
Mega Charizard and Giga Charizard because why would we stop?
Mega Giga Charizard. There's Mega Charizard X.
Anyway,
Wow.
Sam, what's your favorite? What's your pick?
What is my pick? Probably. I think I have it narrowed down to 2, but you go ahead, Andrew. I'm not sure that I have my final answer yet.
Okay, well, my favorite is Tauros. The reason I like him so much is he's a powerhouse in the games. He's just a stat monster, known for speed and power. Very useful. But I also think he's criminally underrated. I think there was an episode of the show about him. Tauros doesn't come up enough. And I think people don't talk about him too because he doesn't evolve into anything. he's not evolved from anything. He just kind of stands on his own towards the bottom of the Pokédex list. He's very hard to get. So yeah, I think he's just kind of special.
I think I'm
Okay.
going to go with Starmie, which we've talked about already, so it's kind of redundant. But
Water type Pokemon. Surprising for you there, Mr. Sam.
Starmie
Do you
can
work at the
learn
water gym?
Hydro Pump, Psychic, Blizzard, and Thunder, which are some of the most powerful elemental moves in the entire game.
That
And
Pokemon's
Starmie is
broken.
fast, and Starmie has high special. So Starmie is basically a cannon.
Wow.
And I think he's a little underrated because he just kind of gets lumped in with being a part of the water gym lineup. So Starmie equals cheating, yeah. Uh, All right.
Starmie's oof. Just face the facts, Sam.
Well, do you guys have any closing thoughts before we wrap this up?
I had a couple things left in my notes.
Oh,
Just
I'm
to
sorry. Go
go
ahead.
just to go over them real quick. I think the sound design in the original Pokemon games is underrated. One of my favorite parts is whenever you get on a bike for the first time, and it has this like very upbeat, jovial music that plays. Considering it's an 8-bit game on the Game Boy, I think they did a great job. Even the Pokemon have like different noises they make when they come out. Sound design's underrated. Um, the last thing I wanted to bring up is Team Rocket and how you guys feel about Team Rocket. They're kind of in the games. I think they're pretty misused. Like they're made out to be this evil in the world, and really all they turn into is just more trainers you have to fight. It's not really clear what Team Rocket does, why they're doing what they're doing. They just have like a mishmash of crappy Voltorbs and Grimers and Drowsies, and they're just kind of more. And I think that's kind of a shame because I actually think in later games they get the bad guys, the antagonists, they get them right, especially in Ruby and Sapphire. They're essentially environmental terrorists in Ruby
Oh
and
yeah.
Wait, what are they called in that game? In those games again?
Aqua and Magma.
Yeah, Aqua and
That's it.
Magma.
Yes.
Yeah, Team Aqua
Yeah.
and Magma are both way better than Team Rocket. So I'll
Yeah,
give
they
the
were
later
pretty
games that.
sweet. What'd you say?
I'll give the later games that. The other thing, and this is my last closing comment. I mean, I love these games. I think they're great, and even me bringing up these negatives is just because I've love these games and I play them to death, and they're not perfect. The whole Gary rivalry doesn't make a ton of sense because it's implied that you take care of your Pokemon and you nurture them, and they're like your family, and you would never do anything to hurt your Pokemon. And then Gary is essentially using them as soldiers, sending them out to the battlefield to die, like running them across the trench.
No, but that's the point though. It's like in the end you beat him because you follow the proper strategy.
I think
It's
Andrew's
like
getting to
Gary
his point.
Yeah, I mean, Gary's not doing anything different than you are.
It's the same thing.
Like how many times did Blastoise faint for you to get to fight Gary in the Elite Four? How many times did you sacrifice him? Let's be honest.
Maybe you're the
I-
villain the whole time.
maybe.
That would be a good Pokemon. That'd be a good Pokemon. Yeah, but that's just my closing thought. I love those games. I'm sure I'll be playing them forever, especially the original ones.
Okay.
As a quick aside, if you want a nice twist on Team Rocket, you should play Gold 97. Just throwing it out there.
Thank you.
You would just spoil it for me because I'm not gonna
Throwing it
play
out there.
What do they do, Sam? Come on.
I'm not telling you. You got to play it.
Yeah. No, I think Pokemon, I mean, it's one of the best games ever made, really. I mean, like, it's hard for me to think that as a kid I played and got just insanely invested into an RPG, but I did. I mean, it's just like that transfixed like kids that just got so invested in this world where you just get swept up in an adventure. You literally just like go out and come of age with these little creatures. Andrew says I look like Elijah Wood in Sin City. Yes.
You made me watch. Sorry, go ahead. That's not
Oh, you
related to
really
Pokemon.
do.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's
Sorry, I
fine.
interrupted you.
No, I mean that's it though. It's
As
just
it gets
like
later, it gets worse. I can't unsee it.
but no, it's just yeah, it's like I was a 9-year-old kid and I got like I put 120 hours into this game. I mean, like maybe you would call it like an unhealthy addiction, but like it's just like people love this stuff. Kids love this stuff. It's it just made life better as a kid. I'll say that. If I can be so bold. To Elijah Wood and Sam. Oh my gosh. You're just lurking in the darkness there. What? Turn on a freaking light. That's that.
All right. Well, guys, it's been fun talking about Pokemon, reliving our childhoods. We appreciate you all tuning in. Hope you have a nice day, whatever time of the day it is, whatever month it is. Hopefully Elijah Wood's not looking at you like he is us right now. All right. See you, everyone.
Hi, guys.
Peace out.